My fiancé called 911 from another man's apartment, and I was the dispatcher who answered. Hi. I'm Noah, 27, and 3 weeks ago I heard my fiancé's voice beg for help over a 911 line, without realizing I was the dispatcher picking up. That was the moment my whole life cracked open like a dropped wine glass. I've worked emergency dispatch for 6 years. I'm good at it. Too good maybe, because my voice switches into this calm, steady, surgical mode no matter what nightmare I'm listening to. House fire? My voice is a lake. Car crash? Lake. And on that Tuesday at 2:14 p.m., when the call came in, the lake didn't even ripple. 911, what's your emergency? And then, her. My fiancée. The woman I was supposed to marry in 8 months. The woman who kissed me goodbye that morning said she had a full day of office meetings, and promised she'd bring home takeout. Except she wasn't at work. She was sobbing into the phone from an apartment across town. Oh God, he's not breathing. Please, please help. I recognized her voice instantly. She didn't recognize mine. Panic distorts people. Professionalism hides me. I asked the questions. I took the address. I dispatched medics. I walked her through chest compressions while every part of my brain screamed at me to stop being a dispatcher and start being a betrayed fiancé. I kept my voice cold and neutral while my stomach tried to climb up my throat. When the medics arrived and took over, she cried with relief. Relief. Over another man. I hung up. Sat there. Counted to 10. Then told my supervisor I needed an early lunch. He took one look at my face and didn't argue. By 4:30 p.m., every item she owned was packed by a moving crew I called in. Clothes, makeup, laptop, framed pictures, mugs, gone. Storage unit paid for 1 month. Key on my coffee table. Apartment suddenly felt like somebody had lifted a piano off my chest. I finished my shift that night like nothing happened. She walked in at 11:47 p.m., smiling like the world hadn't just ended. Told me work ran late. That was when I said quietly, "That's funny. Because I heard you call 911 today." Her smile died on the spot. And so did whatever was left of us. She froze in the doorway like someone had hit pause on a movie. Purse dangling from her hand, hair still curled from whatever date she clearly hadn't expected to end with CPR. Her eyes flicked around the apartment like maybe there was a way to lie her way out of the missing furniture. What are you talking about?" she whispered. I leaned back on the couch, arms crossed, dispatcher calm. "You called 911 at 2:14 p.m. You said a man wasn't breathing. From an address I've never heard of. You were supposed to be at work. Want to try that sentence again?" Her mouth opened and closed twice, like a fish trying to process algebra. It wasn't. He's just a friend," she finally blurted. "A coworker. He had a medical emergency and I panicked. I didn't know it was you on the line. I wasn't thinking." "You were thinking enough to lie about being at work." "That's not lying. I just..." Her voice cracked. "I didn't want you to worry." "Oh, don't worry. I'm the picture of serenity." She stepped forward, saw the empty shelves, the vacant bathroom counter through the open door, the cleared-out dresser. Panic spread across her face like ink on tissue. "Noah, where's my stuff?" "In storage," I said. "Unit 247 on Morrison. First month's paid. After that, you're on your own." She recoiled like I'd slapped her. "You packed my things? You kicked me out? Over a misunderstanding? That guy, your friend, wasn't breathing. That seems like a pretty intense misunderstanding." She tried crying next. Big tears. Little sobs. The whole performance. "Noah, please. Let me explain." "So explain." Silence. She couldn't. Instead she tried something new, anger. "You didn't even wait for me to come home. You just threw me out like trash." "No," I said. "Trash gets picked up for free. I paid $89 for your storage unit." She flinched. Hard. Then she whispered, "I love you." And I didn't feel anything. Just a weird hollow quiet, like my emotions had been packed in a box too. "Love doesn't bring you to another man's apartment at 2 in the afternoon," I said. "Love doesn't lie to my face every day for God knows how long. Love doesn't call me without knowing it's me. Noah, please, we can fix this." "No," I said, standing. "We can't." I dropped the engagement ring into my pocket. "We're done." She stood there, trembling, tears streaking her cheeks, begging me not to do this. But after hearing her voice begging for another man's life on my emergency line, I was already gone. The midpoint of all this? The moment the universe decided, let's make this even messier. Because I thought the worst part was hearing her panic over another man. Turns out, that was just the trailer. 3 days later, while I was still scrubbing the emotional bloodstains off my sanity, I got a call. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, until I heard the voice. Is this Noah? Yes. Who's this? My name is Emma. She exhaled sharply. I'm the wife of the man your fiancé was sleeping with. Yeah. That hit like a steel-toed boot to the ribs. I sat down slowly. I'm sorry, you're who? His wife. She repeated, voice tight, brittle, exhausted. The one whose house he still comes home to. Or used to. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to hang up. Another part needed to know how deep this route went. She continued, bitter laughter breaking through her words. He confessed everything. Every detail. How long it's been going on. Where they met. How often they met. A pause. 6 months, Noah. Twice a week. I squeezed my eyes shut. 6 months. While we planned a wedding. While she told me she loved me. While she pretended to be stressed about centerpiece colors. You didn't know? She asked softly. No, I said. I found out because she called 911 and I answered. She let out a stunned breath. Dear God. I thought my story was bad. We talked for 20 minutes. Two strangers comparing battle wounds from the same war without ever knowing we were on the same battlefield. She had 2 kids. 12 years of marriage. And now she had a lawyer. She said you were controlling. Emma added at one point, like it physically disgusted her to repeat it. That you kicked her out for no reason. That you monitor her calls. I almost laughed. A sharp, humorless sound. I don't monitor anything. I just did my job. Well, Emma said, voice steadying, sharpening. I'm done protecting people who don't deserve it. I'm divorcing him. You did the right thing, Noah. You got out before it got worse. Yeah. Maybe. But hearing the depth of the betrayal laid out like a police report, that cracked something deeper than the first discovery ever did. Because now I knew. It wasn't a one-time panic. It wasn't a slip. It wasn't a stupid mistake. It was a pattern. A lifestyle. A second relationship built right alongside mine. And that was the moment I realized. I hadn't lost a fiancé. I'd escaped a stranger. After that call with Emma, I thought maybe, the universe was done kicking me. But no. It had a steel-toed boot and a grudge with my name on it. 2 days later, during my shift, my supervisor pulled me aside. The look he gave me? This is going to be a headache kind of look. We got a formal complaint, he said. About what? A claim that you violated privacy by accessing your fiancé's 911 call. I stared at him. Hard. I didn't access it. I took it. I know. He rubbed his forehead. Legal knows. Anyone with a functioning brain knows. But the complaint came with a lawyer's letterhead, so we have to investigate. Desk duty until it's cleared. Desk duty. No calls. No radio. Just forms and filing and trying not to imagine punching through drywall. All because she didn't like consequences. Let me guess, I said. She said I abused my position. He didn't answer, which was an answer. I went home that night expecting quiet. Instead, when I stepped out of my car, I froze. Because scratched into my driver's side door, deep, angry grooves, was one word. Cheater. The irony almost knocked me unconscious. I called it in. Filed a report. Officer even asked, "Do you think she did it?" "I think she knows people who did." "Want to pursue charges?" "Not yet," I said. "But I'm documenting everything." Good thing too, because the hits kept coming. My landlord called the next day. "Noah, we've gotten 3 noise complaints. Yelling, fighting, disturbances." Yelling? Fighting? Disturbances? I hadn't raised my voice once since the breakup. "I broke up with my fiancée," I explained. "She's been showing up uninvited. Security cameras will confirm?" "Check them." He did. Footage showed her pounding on my door, yelling, crying, begging. Me calmly telling her to leave. Over and over. My landlord exhaled. "Okay. You're clear." But if she shows up again, you need to consider a restraining order. I can't have this in the building. I nodded. I understand. But the thing that really twisted the knife? Her showing up at my workplace lobby. Security called. There's a woman here asking for you. Says it's urgent. I went down. There she was. Makeup smudged. Hair messy. Panic in her eyes. You told his wife, she hissed. I didn't tell anyone, I said. Your boyfriend did. He's losing everything. His marriage, his kids, his job. I shrugged. Actions have consequences. You don't care about anyone but yourself. And you cared about who? When you were in his bed? At his apartment? Calling 911 from his floor while I was at work? Her face crumpled. Then hardened. I lost my job because of you. No, I said. You quit because the gossip got too loud. Her jaw clenched. You'll regret this. Security started walking toward us. She backed away. This isn't over, Noah. The thing is, standing there in that lobby, watching her try to make her disaster my responsibility? Something clicked. She wasn't coming back for me. She was coming back for the version of herself she used to be when I still believed her. That version was dead. The threats didn't stop. They just changed flavor. First it was text messages from random numbers. You ruined her life. She loved you and you threw her away. Hope you can live with yourself. Blocked. 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 Then came the physical harassment. I walked out of work one night and found my windshield plastered with sticky notes. Dozens of them. Each one was some variation of cheater, liar, homewrecker, pig. I collected every single note, slid them into a Ziploc bag like they were evidence, which, in a way, they were. My lawyer friend later called that move weirdly sexy for documentation purposes. The officer who took my updated report looked at the bag, raised an eyebrow, and said, Well, this is organized. But the real turning point in this part of the nightmare came from something far more personal. The second time she showed up at my apartment. It was 7 p.m. on a Saturday. I was trying to watch a documentary, eat a mediocre microwave dinner, and pretend my life wasn't auditioning for a true crime reenactment. Doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole and saw her. I swear she looked both furious and hopeful, like she couldn't decide whether she wanted to scream at me or beg me. Noah, please, she said through the door. Just talk to me. No. You won't even let me in? You're not welcome here, I said. I meant it the first time. She slapped the door. Hard. You are throwing away everything for nothing. For 6 months, I said. You threw us away one afternoon at a time. That's not fair. You were sleeping with a married man. Fairness retired from this conversation months ago. Silence. Then soft trembling. I love you. But it wasn't a confession. It was a strategy. No, I said. You loved the version of me that didn't know the truth. She started crying again. I didn't open the door. I didn't feel guilty. I didn't feel heroic either. More like I was a witness to my own past self. After 5 minutes of crying on my welcome mat, she left. 20 minutes later, her sister texted me. You're heartless. She made one mistake. You're punishing her. I blocked her too. The next morning, I started looking at new apartments. Somewhere without shared walls, shared hallways, or shared memories. Somewhere new. Somewhere quiet. Somewhere I didn't have to wonder if my door would get hammered at 11 p.m. The funny thing is, when I toured a one-bedroom the following week, small, worn floors, small balcony, nothing glamorous, I realized I felt something I hadn't felt since before the proposal. Control. For the first time in weeks, I could breathe. And that was the moment I realized. I wasn't running from her. I was running toward myself. By week 3, everything escalated in ways even I couldn't have predicted, and I listened to people describe emergencies for a living. It started with an unexpected call from my lawyer buddy, Mark. Your ex's boyfriend, the married one, he's circling the drain, Mark said. Wife filed for divorce, custody, alimony, the whole nuclear package. Good, I said, because compassion had packed its suitcase weeks ago. But apparently, nuclear fallout has a long blast radius. Because that's when she, my ex, decided to go scorched earth. I was halfway through my shift when security buzzed me. Noah, there's a woman causing a scene in the lobby asking for you. My supervisor gave me a look like, "Kill me," and walked down with me. And there she was. My ex, hair frizzy, mascara smudged, pacing in literal circles like she was orbiting her own panic. The second she saw me, she zeroed in. "You told his wife!" she shouted. Every head in the lobby turned. "I didn't tell anyone," I said. "Your boyfriend did. When he confessed." "You don't understand," she snapped, voice cracking. "He's losing everything. His kids, his house, his job. He's suicidal. Sounds like he should have made better choices." She actually flinched. "You're heartless. You keep saying that. Doesn't make it true." Security started drifting our way. She saw them and ramped up the volume like she thought going full Broadway would sway me. "I lost my job because of you. I have nothing now." "You quit," I said. "Because everyone found out." She blinked. Like the truth physically confused her. "Who told them?" she whispered. "Maybe his wife. Maybe one of your friends. Maybe karma. Hard to say." Then she leaned in, eyes wild, voice trembling with this cracked anger. "You'll regret everything you've done to me." I didn't move. "I didn't do anything to you. You set the fire. I just stopped burning with you." Security stepped between us. She backed away, pointing at me with this shaking, wounded fury. "This isn't over, Noah." Then she left. But she wasn't kidding about it not being over. 2 days later, my car window had a neat hole in it, like someone hit it with a screwdriver. Not enough to shatter it, just enough to spiderweb it, and cost me $400. 3 days after that, my landlord told me someone had filed another noise complaint claiming I was screaming obscenities at women. Cameras proved it wasn't me, again, but the landlord gently suggested I consider a restraining order. And then, just when I thought the universe might be done, her mother called. On voicemail, because she was blocked. "Noah, you are ruining my daughter's life. She made one mistake and you're punishing her forever. She's depressed. She's not eating. She has nowhere to go. This is your fault." I saved the voicemail. Didn't respond. Because here's what the past few weeks had taught me. You can't reason with people who view your boundaries as betrayal. You can't save someone who's drowning in consequences they created. And you sure as hell can't let yourself get dragged under with them. The next morning, I signed the lease for the new apartment. Smaller. Quieter. Mine. And stepping into that empty space felt like walking into a life where I finally got to choose the emergencies I responded to. And she wasn't one of them anymore. Moving day hit like a reset button I didn't realize my brain desperately needed. I carried the first box into the new place, cheap hardwood floors, the faint smell of previous tenants, a balcony that overlooked nothing but a parking lot, and I swear, it felt like a 5-star resort compared to the emotional minefield I'd been living in. No memories here. No arguments. No lies. No echoes of her voice creeping under the door at midnight. Just quiet. Real quiet. I slept better that night than I had in months. No door pounding. No withheld sobbing outside the hallway. No vibrations of my phone lighting up with masked numbers. But the peace didn't last long. Because the universe wasn't done serving consequences. First, my supervisor finally cleared me from desk duty. Internal review wrapped up. Their conclusion. I followed protocol. I acted professionally. Complaint dismissed. But the real plot twist from that meeting wasn't my record being clear. It was what he told me next. "Oh, by the way," he said casually, "the guy you helped, your ex's friend? He's fine. Panic attack. Brought on by guilt, apparently." Guilt. That word lodged in my throat like a shard of glass. Turns out, 2 days after his little medical crisis, his wife found messages. Explicit ones? Detailed ones? 6 months' worth of messages. That friend had confessed everything under pressure. Explained the apartment. The meetings. The routine. The secrets. The schedule they kept like an affair calendar. His wife had gone nuclear. Divorce. Full custody. Supervised visitation. He was hemorrhaging money and begging his family to bail him out. And then, later that week, I got a call from Emma again. "I just wanted to say thank you," she said. "Your ex visited me. Tried to convince me it wasn't that serious." 6 months, I said. "Twice a week." "Exactly." Her voice hardened. "She said you overreacted?" Can you believe that? I could believe it. Too well. But then she added. She looked lost. Like she still doesn't think she did anything wrong. That landed heavier than anything else. Because Emma wasn't describing a villain. She was describing someone who'd built a whole alternate reality, and was now homeless in it. Late that night, as I sat in my new place surrounded by cardboard boxes and microwave dinners, I realized something. I didn't want her back. I didn't want revenge. I didn't even want apologies. I just wanted my life back. And for the first time since the 911 call, I could feel it coming back to me, piece by quiet piece. Then my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You think this is over? You think you can just walk away? Blocked. No shaking hands. No anxiety spike. Just annoyance. Because that was the moment I understood something huge. I wasn't afraid anymore. Of her. Of the fallout. Of being alone. Of starting over. Everything that needed to collapse had collapsed. And now? The rebuild was about to begin. Here's where the dust finally settled, where the chaos stopped exploding and started echoing instead. About a month after the breakup, the calls, the harassment, the car damage, the HR complaint, the noise complaints, the unexpected lobby confrontations, everything finally went quiet. I mean quiet. No texts. No blocked number voicemails. No scratches on my car. No late-night door pounding. Just silence. It was almost suspicious. But the truth arrived secondhand, from someone I never expected to hear from again. Emma. She called while I was on my balcony, eating a sad microwaved lasagna like a bachelor in witness protection. She moved back in with her parents, Emma said. Quit her job. Stop fighting the divorce attorney. Seems like she's in a kind of freefall. I didn't say anything. What was there to say? She still tells everyone she's the victim, Emma added. Says you abandoned her over nothing. Says you destroyed her life. I laughed once, sharp and tired. Figures. You did the right thing, Noah, she said. You got out early. Some of us didn't. And she hung up. That night, I sat there on my little balcony, legs stretched out, letting the air settle around me. And for the first time in a long time, I realized the pressure in my chest was gone. The next few weeks felt weirdly normal. Work went back to being work. Calls, emergencies, chaos, but the controlled kind. The kind with procedures. The kind where I knew what to do, where the damage wasn't personal. My coworkers treated me differently, more respectfully, strangely. As if surviving this whole disaster somehow made me unshakable. I started therapy. Not to fix some shattered emotional ruin, but to sort the debris into neat piles so I knew what to build next. The therapist told me something that stuck. You're not numb, Noah. You're calm because you acted decisively. Most people freeze. You didn't. I didn't know whether to be proud or concerned. One evening I untagged myself from all our engagement photos. She hadn't taken them down, of course, she was still curating the illusion. But removing my name felt like pulling the last nail from a coffin I'd buried weeks before. I kept living. Cooking. Sleeping. Working. Breathing. And with every day that passed, the chaos felt less like a storm and more like a distant memory I had stepped out of just in time. That's when I realized. This wasn't heartbreak. This was liberation. But we weren't done yet. There was still one final wave coming. One last confrontation. One unexpected message. One final door to close completely. And it arrived exactly when I least expected it. The last wave arrived quietly. A letter slipped under my door with her handwriting on it. Inside, she apologized, but not for cheating, just for handling things poorly. No excuses this time, just a shaky admission. You saw the truth before I did. I know you won't come back. I didn't feel anger. Or hate. Just closure. I folded the letter, put it away, and realized the storm had finally ended. All that remained now was the life waiting beyond it. The morning after I read her letter, I stood on my new apartment balcony with a cup of cheap coffee and realized something simple and strangely freeing. I didn't feel broken. Not hollow. Not bitter. Just done. The kind of done that feels like setting down a heavy box you didn't realize you'd carried for miles. My therapist called it post-trauma clarity. I called it finally getting my damn life back. I focused on work. Earned back my spot on dispatch rotation. My supervisor even said, "You sound lighter." And he wasn't wrong. I was back to helping strangers through real emergencies instead of being trapped in one of my own. A month later, my dad asked how I was holding up. I told him the truth. Better than I should be. Because I was. Because walking away wasn't weakness, it was self-respect, showing up late but showing up loud. I kept the letter she wrote, not out of love or nostalgia, but because it reminded me what ignoring red flags costs. It's tucked in a drawer like a caution sign. Sometimes people ask if I'd ever take her back. Not in this lifetime. Not in any lifetime. She wasn't a soulmate, I just mistook familiarity for love. Big difference. These days, my apartment is quiet in the right ways. My meals are simple, my routine steady. I'm not dating yet, but for the first time in forever, the idea doesn't scare me. I'll get there when I'm ready. Here's what I learned. You don't lose people who betray you. You lose the illusion of who you thought they were. And what you gain? Yourself. So yeah, my fiancée cheated, lied, nearly nuked my job, and set off a chain reaction of chaos. But in the end, she gave me something I never would have taken on my own. A clean slate. And I'm finally living like a man who answered his own emergency call.